and then Tom DeLonge. So I'll just let you go into it. Blink 182, like random as fuck.
So kind of like back into like how I got into the whole subject, right? Never really thought about UFOs. Super big Joe Rogan fan, right? Everyone loves Joe Rogan, right? So he had Tom DeLonge on, and I just listened to it, and the first time I listened to it, I thought Tom DeLonge was totally crazy because like Tom DeLonge was making all these, for anyone that doesn't know, Tom DeLonge went on Joe Rogan and was basically making all these claims about having like insiders within the government that were kind of like feeding him information and that he was going to be going public with some like big UFO stuff. And to Tom's credit, the interview on Joe Rogan could have been a lot better had Joe like done some research, even a little bit. You know what I mean? Because you could tell basically from the bat that Joe was not really buying it.
He
was kind of toying with them, and it's pretty disappointing because like Joe has like always like kind of been like open to ideas, and like he'll have Graham Hancock on there who's kind of saying like not like mainstream science stuff and like open to it, but he was kind of, I'd almost even say rude to Tom.
Well, I'll say like I think I get where Joe is coming from with it, that this topic is like very polarizing, and Joe is also like, he's pretty biased. I mean, he said before he wants UFOs to exist, so I could see that like he has to play devil's advocate. You know what I mean? Like that's part of the thing with him, and I'll say too, Tom, like I didn't even know he was going to talk about UFOs. When I saw that he was on, I was like, oh, Blink 182, like this is going to be interesting.
Nostalgia, this will be fun.
And I was like definitely skeptical about Tom. It just seemed like, he wasn't going into detail. There were questions that he couldn't answer. So I get like where Joe was coming from with like, what are you talking about? Like very questioning. But who knows? Maybe the timing was wrong and it should have come on later. You know what I mean? It seemed like it was too early because there's shit he couldn't talk about.
Yeah, so that was my first kind of brush with this whole UFO subject. And I was like, oh, wow, this is kind of pretty crazy. Didn't really look into it. And then when the December 2017 article broke, that's when I like got really into it. And I started researching Tom DeLonge and like what he was actually talking about. Because like also to Joe's credit, Tom DeLonge did a horrible job of kind of selling it. What he was doing.
I think that was the case. That was what it was.
It was the lack of research on Joe meeting like Tom's kind of poor presentation that just kind of made for what could have been an amazing interview. Like,
and it seemed like Tom was just, it's almost seemed like he couldn't talk about stuff as much as it should have been talked about. But it's changed now. It seems like there's definitely more information coming out now.
There's a lot more information coming out.
And just to say too, and you can go into it, but a lot of the stuff Tom was saying is like legit. Now it's coming out. All the people he's working with and stuff. You want to go into that? The company, like the company has and everything.
So once that all the December 2017 stuff came out, I started doing a bunch of research on Tom and this company that he was talking about, and I saw that like this company that he has accumulated is filled.
What's the name of the company?
To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science. So now I don't want people to say like I'm a To the Stars Academy fanboy. Although I do like totally respect what they're doing. I think we do have to be open-minded and look at like, yes, these people are credentialed, but they're also like from the government and the CIA, and this could be a false flag. But we also have to be open to the
open-minded and skeptical.
Open-minded and skeptical that this could also be totally what disclosure actually looks like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So I looked into the whole history of Tom DeLonge, and I found out that when the WikiLeaks email hack happened in the 2016 election with like Hillary Clinton and the DNC, that big old scandal, still talking about it. John Podesta, who was Hillary Clinton's campaign manager at the time, but prior to that was Obama's senior advisor. Prior to that, Bill Clinton's chief of staff, was in email communication with Tom DeLonge.
So very credentialed.
So probably one of the most credentialed people like in the country at that time, especially when he like his party was in power, everything like that. Was talking to Tom DeLonge about meeting with also some pretty credentialed like major Air Force generals and stuff like that about meeting and discussing this UFO topic. And basically, for anyone that doesn't know, Tom DeLonge went on to Joe Rogan to talk about UFOs, but also to talk about this kind of plan of like rolling disclosure that's going to be taking place over the next few years, which it seems that we're in the middle of.
It's kind of crazy that like I watched that and just thought, oh, Tom DeLonge, he's like on coke. He was so like it was
look coked out,
all over the place. It looked like he was coked out, and I just didn't think about it. But you watching your videos and everything, it's like, holy shit, it seems like like what he was saying, it's starting to come to fruition.
Yeah, see, like I definitely feel comfortable saying we're in the middle of something. I lean toward it being some sort of like UFO otherworldly thing, but it could be, like I said, false flag, government operation. But whatever it is, we're definitely in the middle of something.
Of something going on.
Something's happening.
Do you have any idea how Tom DeLonge like got involved in this?
Yeah,
like how is he, the freaking lead singer of Blink-182, able to get people together and do this?
Yeah,
that's very interesting.
Yeah, perfect, because I'm like reading all this stuff right now for the current vid. But basically what he says, and this is all according to him, you know what I mean? So he says that he leveraged his star power that he had from Blink-182 to get an audience with some high-level people, which I'm trying to piece together who's who, like based on the Podesta leak from my video and like based on some of the interviews he said, but I can't really piece exactly who's who, but basically that he eventually was able to get a meeting with some high-level person and basically laid out for them his plan, his idea of what should disclosure, quote unquote, look like.
I see.
And he basically says that he came to it like respectfully and like
used the star power, like you said. He probably has money and
he has
like
money,
fund and put
he's
that,
like, there's a disconnect between what the government's doing and like the internet. People like know, people are talking, you know what I mean? So
that's questionable for me, like just to play devil's advocate. To me, it's very questionable. Like Tom DeLonge, like
exactly. That's
it almost
why it's
seems like
so weird. That's why it's so it's like Tom DeLonge, Blink-182.
It seems like, well, is this like
all the small things?
Yeah, a ploy of like the government is using him as like a way to distract, like you're saying, a false flag or something, you know?
And there's some history of that happening. A little sidebar, a little history tangent. This is another down the road video, but there's this guy named, I think, Paul Benowitz, who was for a few years or maybe a few months, but basically given like false information from somebody within the CIA about UFOs.
I think
and it kind of like drove him crazy, and it was like this whole thing, and it was like in the 80s, and it was like crazy, right?
Yeah.
And that's why you'll see a lot of the older ufologists who are around for that are a lot more skeptical than like people my age who are like, whoa, this is awesome, this is cool. They're like, we've seen what happened with Paul Benowitz. You know, we got our hopes up in the 80s. Like, we're going to like listen, but we're going to be cautious.
Very cautious. I think that's the best way to go about it.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. Exactly. With anything, you know what I mean? With any kind of information you're receiving.
Yeah.
So then Tom DeLonge met with those people, laid out his plan, and they said, yeah, go ahead. Like, go ahead with what you're doing. And they started advising him, and he started meeting with some like military advisors. And then eventually with some of the people he was meeting with, he made this company, To the Stars Academy. I have a video where I go over like the credentials of like
all the people,
all the main people in it.